Morning. Good morning, everyone. And yes, well, is it a surprise anymore? We still have internet problems, keeping our fingers crossed now that we've got everything sorted out. We thought we got everything sorted out when we had the Wi-Fi man in this morning to upgrade us, but it didn't make any difference. So here we are. I'm on a different whatever it is. I'm on a computer and not an iPad. We're keeping our fingers crossed that I'm not delayed, that you can all hear me, and I think we're good to go. So before we begin, first of all, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is standing to my right side. And I'd like to say good morning to Chris. Chris, first of all, good morning. Second of all, how are we doing?
Good morning, Rosemary. It seems as though your voice is matching up to the internet, so I think we're good.
Okay, great. It's very weird because on this computer, when I'm talking to the computer, my lips are not in sync with my sound. But if I'm if I'm okay on your end and I'm okay with everybody else, that works for me. All right. So it is Saturday morning, everybody. It is story time. We're right smack in the middle of July. I'm not quite sure how we got to July. This year has sort of gone whizzing past. But yes, it's story time. But before we go to story time, Chris, wait a minute. Let me put on my face. Is there anybody there?
People are definitely logging in right now, Rosemary. I think if
Right.
you gave them another minute, the more people could find you. Because we know if people have subscribed, especially on YouTube, which quite honestly, I think that's the best place for you to always find Rosemary there. You're notified if she has an off the cuff or something. Um, it may be a minute or two delay once we go live for the notice to go out from YouTube to the people who have subscribed. So
Okay, so why don't we just chat for a minute? Let me see. Yes, a drink and non-alcoholic. I have to tell you, it's actually tangerine. Isn't this weird? I'll give you a little weird fact about me personally, right? I cannot eat oranges because they're very bad for me. Oxalates. Yet I can eat tangerines. I can eat zatsumas, if you know what they are. I can eat nectarines. I can eat most other types of orange, just not oranges. So here we go with my delicious tangerine with I add water to it and ice, and it is actually really really delicious and sort of a nicer, fresher, milder taste. You might want to try. You might want to try. It feels as if I'm doing an advert here for tangerine juice, but here we go. Um, we've had knocking and banging, and my lovely neighbour, who deserves a mention, Henrik, and his beautiful wife, Janina, who also deserves a mention. They have in the last 2 or 3 days, they've taken out a window, they've boarded it up. I've been holding and helping and hammering a little tiny bit, but not a lot. And we finally got a window boarded up that um, I've been trying to get done for at least 5 or 6 years, if not much longer than that. Anyway, so I'm thrilled about that, but it has left the house just a little bit in disarray. Have you noticed that I'm in a different room? Did anybody notice that? Yes, I'm in a different room. Where could I be, you ask yourselves? I'm in my bedroom, is what I tell you. I have a lovely bedroom with a nice big sofa, and the chair that I'm sitting in at the moment is a very, very old. It's got beautiful wooden carved. If only you could see it better. It's got beautiful wooden carved arms and legs. It's got that what do they call it? They call it barley twist. Do you remember the old barley sugars, the sticks of barley sugar that we used to get years ago? They twist and twist around. Well, this has sort of got arms, legs actually, a little bit like this, but all the arms are carved. I feel like royalty sitting in this chair, and I love it. It's very very comfy. And anyway, here I am in my bedroom doing this, folks. So one day, maybe I shall take you for a tour around my house. I know that you might like that. But we have to wait until it's all tidied up and cleaned up, because it's very dusty at the moment in certain areas, because when you take out windows and put up walls and do things like that, you get lots and lots of dust. So that's been sort of my a little bit of my week this week. And let's see, Chris, what have you been doing this week?
Well, I think I've just been in the background trying to support you as best I can.
Isn't it great having support? Don't you love support? I love support, and we all support each other, don't we? Um, do we get support in other ways? Of course, we know that our loved ones in the spirit world, they support us. We know that. I believe that 100%. I have absolutely no doubt. And I have a strange thought, which I've had over the years many, many times, because we all should have doubts. We all question. We all sort of need that questioning about God, particularly. Is there a God, for instance? And if there is a God, then questions come out. If there is a God, and can God hear me? And why do bad things happen? If God is so supposed to protect, and on the questions go, don't they? The weird thought that I've had from time to time is this: I'm a very curious person. I'm a very questioning person. However, the one thing, since I can remember, I went to Sunday school when I was 3 years old, 2.5, 3 years old. We were shoved to Sunday school so my mother could watch the afternoon movie. They were the days before the internet, before you could watch movies all day long if you wanted to. Um, so I've known all about Jesus. I was, sort of brought up with Jesus. Every Sunday we would talk about Jesus. We would sing Jesus songs, and I had a fabulous church that I used to go to. We'd sing Jesus songs, and we'd talk about Jesus, and we'd talk about God and all of that. And I've never ever once questioned the idea or the thought of God. Let me clarify. I don't personally believe in God, a man with a white beard and the long robes and sitting on a throne and all that stuff. I don't actually visualize God as I know the Bible says we're made in his image and all that, but I don't necessarily believe that either. I think that there is a force, an energy, and I don't think it matters what shape or size it comes in. It only matters to me that it is a force, and it's what I would call a universal force, a God force. Um, and I don't think particularly it takes any one shape or form or image. Um, of course, though, when I think of Jesus, and I grew up with Jesus, and he's always been with me, and we've been friends for a long time, a very, very long time. And when I started as a healer, I was totally supported, because we're talking about support, right? I was totally supported by Christ. I was totally supported by that God force. I made absolutely certain when I began my work that it was of God, or of that universal God force, because I was concerned that I wasn't doing anything that went against God or went against that purity, that gentleness, that love. I wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing, and have always, in so many different forms, in so many different ways, have always had the support that that God force can bring to us. For instance, I remember when I first started as a medium, and some of you have heard this story before. No, we're not. It's not story time yet. I've got a better story for you, but a different story for you. But I remember going to bed one night and wondering and thinking, how am I supposed to do this? And this is such a huge responsibility, and so on. And as I laid my head down on the pillow, I literally heard a choir of angels. They were in my bedroom somewhere or another, and I didn't actually see them, but I heard them and I felt them, and I felt that energy, that beautiful, incredible energy. I know some of you have seen angels. I know some of you have experienced angels, and if you have, you know that there's that incredible feeling when angels come into the room, when they come into your presence, when they come into your, they enter your energy field, and there's this incredible and beautiful feeling when angels come in. And I remember laying my head on the pillow and listening to these angels, and they were singing the rainbow song to me. Listen with your eyes. And they were telling me in song form, if you like, they were explaining to me what it was that I needed to do in order to see better, in order to become more aware, in order to raise my level of consciousness. And so the angels on this particular night, as I lay my head on the pillow and then actually really open my eyes, listening and paying attention and being wowed by this incredible, beautiful feeling of the angels around me, surrounding me, supporting me. And I remember feeling so overwhelmed and so joyful that I had this much support. It was really, really incredible. And so, excuse me. And so, as Chris just mentioned, in the background and supporting, and we all need support of one kind or another. I think that certainly I try to be supportive of others. I try to support the people around me. I try to support them as best I can. Of course, we don't always get it right, do we? But we try our very best to be supportive and to be helpful as much as we can be. We all need support of some kind. Does the spirit world give us that support? You betcha. And my story this morning is going to be about how I had support from the spirit world, but in the very weirdest way. Now, I know that some of you will be listening to this story and thinking, oh, come on, Rosemary. I know you expect us to believe all sorts of things, but honestly, really, you really expect us to believe that this happened? I know how fantastic and sometimes really odd. I know how amazing sometimes the stories that I tell you they sound so unreal. They sound, come on, really? Give me a break. That couldn't possibly happen, or that didn't happen, or whatever. But hand on heart, and looking to God, and looking to Christ, and looking, of course, to Grey Eagle, I have to tell you, as weird as these stories sometimes sound, they are true. And this one in particular, yes, I have to say, you will doubt it tremendously. Even as I was in it, even as I was experiencing this, I was thinking, no, really, no, come on, really. But then you sort of get used to it and you get into it, and then you think, okay, then. All right. So one or two of you may have heard this story before, but because I did write about it in my book. Some of you will probably want to click off, but I promise, wait till the end of the story before you click me off. You think, has she finally lost it? Did Rosemary Altea finally, have I lost the plot, as we would say in England? Did I lose the plot? Okay, so Chris, do you think we're ready? What do you think?
I think we are ready.
Okay, all right then. So, story time, Saturday morning, and here we go. Sorry. So, once upon a time, as all good stories absolutely must begin, I tell my grandson that, I used to tell my daughter that. Once upon a time, as all good stories must begin. We're going back so many years, lots and lots of years now. And, it was in the days when she was a little girl, she was at school, and I needed to set out on a trip. And the weather was pretty bad. And so all the news people said, don't go out, it's, snowing, the roads are pretty bad, on and on and on. And so it was one of those trips where, you don't, if you're sensible, you just don't get in your car, you just stay home. But it was an important trip, important to me anyway. And it was an important meeting that I was going to. And so I asked Grey Eagle, um, what do you think? Should I go? Should I stay? What should I do? And he said to me, you will get there and you'll get back. You'll get there safely, you'll get back safely. He didn't tell me what was going to happen on the in-between bit, but all I heard and all I wanted to hear was, you will get there safely, you will return safely, don't worry about it, everything will be fine. So, okay then. So as bad as the weather was, as bad as the roads were, I'm trusting my spirit guide, who is the most supportive of me. We're talking about support. Remember, we're talking about needing support, and all of us needing a support from time to time, whether it's with our friends or with our family or someone else. Anyway, so I'm driving along, and I lived in the country in those days in England. I'm driving along through the fields and so on and so forth, and there are sheep coming down the road and little delays here and there, and the weather's pretty bad. There are no other cars on the road because everybody else has been sensible and they've listened, right? And they've been told, don't go out unless you really, really have to, so they haven't gone out. Okay, so I'm driving down the road, this country road, and I'm probably about I'm going to say about 30 minutes into my journey now, so 30 minutes from home. And out of the corner of my eye, as I'm driving along, I see this huge flash of sort of, I don't know, bluish purple light. And it flashes, and I catch it from the corner of my eye, and I turn to see, what is it? What is that? What is that flash? And nothing. And I turn back. This is where you will think that I've lost the plot. I turn back, and there on the bonnet, we say in England the bonnet, in America you say the hood, but the front of the car works for me, right? So there, sitting on the bonnet of the car in front of me, and sitting sort of with his back to me, is what I think at first is a small child. And really, I mean, come on, I've lost it, right? What is it? Hallucinating, right? So there, this little guy sits right in the middle at the front of the bonnet of the car. You're getting the picture. Okay, but he was not dressed in what I would call ordinary clothes. He was sort of wearing some sort of a robe. Now, remember, I can only see him from the back, but he's wearing some sort of robe. I can see the sleeves of his, whatever that is, he's wearing, sort of long and wide. And he's wearing some sort of what looks to me from the back again, some sort of a scarf. And on his head, he's wearing a turban. Have you switched off yet? So, right. So anyway, he's wearing a turban, but it's not. It's. I'll describe it to you. It looks like a big round sausage all the way around, and then a little pointy cone in the middle. Do you know the kind of thing I mean? Right. So he's wearing that sort of a hat on his head, and I'm looking. Well, first of all, I'm stunned. I don't know quite what to make of it, and then I'm sort of trying to say hello. I know, it's weird. Hello, uh, who are you? And and it is only when he turns his head that I realise that it's not a boy sitting on the bonnet of the car. It is a man, and he has his little goatee beard and a little moustache and everything. And he just turns his head and turns his head, looks at me over his shoulder, and he smiles at me. And as he smiles at me, I hear Grey Eagle say, he will keep you, he's here to keep you safe. basically, he was there for my support, and he weirdly, once I'd got over the weirdness of it, weirdly, I immediately felt safe, and I felt okay. Then, I'll take this. Is he some sort of? Is he my travel guide? Is what I'm thinking. Is he going to, because he looked the kind of, sitting cross-legged. He looked the kind of man that you might imagine sitting on a carpet, a magic carpet that's you're going to fly through the air on this magic carpet. And that is how, to me, with his hat and his beard and his this, and what I thought was a scarf was something that was attached to one side of his hat and came over and then flowed across his back. And to and, and you got to wonder, it's freezing out there, it's snowing out there, the roads are dangerous out there. Aren't you cold? Is one of the things I'm thinking. And of course, no, he's not cold, because he is whatever he is he some sort of a spirit guide? Is he, who is he, and what is he doing there? And I've never seen him before. I'd never experienced anything like this before. But that little man sat on the bonnet of my car all the way through the journey, and I arrived safely with a little bump, because as I came off the highway, and there was only one lane open, and it was only just open, I have to tell you. As I came off the highway and went down the slope, the car stopped, everything stopped. I slid down the sort of the ramp that takes you off of the highway, and amazingly, right? Because in these circumstances, it's amazing. There was a garage at the at the foot of the ramp. So my car sort of had cut out, rolled down the ramp and into the garage, the forecourt, and stopped. And I got out and I went to find some guy and said that, don't know what it is, but it just stopped. And it also happened that the hotel that I was having my meeting at was very, very close by. So I called a friend who was going to the same meeting and said, I'm here, I'm in the garage, but my car is broken down. And so they came out to pick me up, and the guy said the garage guy said to me, he said, we'll fix it for you. He said, I can't promise we'll fix it properly for you, because they were inundated. So many cars had apparently broken down, the weather and the cold and all that sort of thing. He said, we're inundated. Don't quite know what time I'm going to be able to get to fix it, but probably around 4 this afternoon if you want to call back, which was perfect, because it was also perfect for my meeting. So my little man at this point had disappeared, no idea where he'd gone to. So I had my meeting and come back to the garage. Friend brings me back to the garage, and they can't fix it properly, but they tie it up. And I can't remember now what was wrong with it, but they needed a nylon stocking to tie it up. Whatever it was that was going on, they bodged it basically. And he said, hopefully this should get you home. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm remembering Grey Eagle's words immediately. You will get there and you'll be safe, and you'll get home and you'll be safe. But he didn't tell me about the in-between stuff. But as soon as the guy in the garage said to me, I'm hoping this should last to get you home, and then you'll have to, take it to get it properly repaired. And I just thought of Grey Eagle's words, I'll get home. I'll be safe. I'll get home. So I get in the car, it goes. I have to say, I'm nervous, right? You would be. It's now 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's dark. It's winter time. And, so I'm driving along, and there's this little guy sitting on the bonnet. Great. Yay. Then Grey Eagle says to me, okay, we're not going to drive the way you came. I'm going to take you a different route. And that different route, it was literally, okay, need to turn right here, turn left there, at the crossroad. And he was literally, you know how we sort of tune in now to Siri, and we say directions to. Well, that was what was Grey Eagle was doing years before Siri was ever invented, years before anybody thought that we could do this sort of thing. So he was literally guiding me, and we went through back roads, and it was pitch black, and there was no lighting on the roads, and then we'd go on to a busier road, and at some point Gregor said to me, okay, you need to slow down. So I slowed down, and then he said, no, you need to slow down more. And as I slowed down more, I realized why Gregor was telling me to slow down, because there was some crazy idiot who whizzed past me and almost hit a big truck that was ahead of me, almost hit the big truck, and ended up sort of his engine cut out. He ended up at the side of the road. Fortunately, I'd slowed down enough that I missed all of that. Talk about support. We rely so much, don't we, on the support of our computer. We rely on the support of our Siri and Alexa, and all of them. I'm nervous about saying that word because it'll pop in here, but we rely on so much technological support these days, and we forget, because we have it at our fingers. We have all of this technological stuff at our fingertips. We forget that the best support that we can get, the support that we can rely on, that doesn't cut out, that doesn't require an engineer to come in and fix it. We forget that the best support that we have is the support of those in the spirit world. So I'm going along the journey. This poor little man is still sitting on the hood of the car. Did he say anything to me? No. Did he speak to me? Did he say, don't worry, Rosemary? No, he didn't. Because I had Grey Eagle, who was, again, as I've said, directing me. I was completely lost. I had no clue where I was. Again, remember, we didn't have a Siri to say, hey, can you give me directions? So I went down all of these country roads, back roads, roads where there was no traffic, no street lights. That is trust. When the roads are so bad, and the snow is coming down so heavily, there was no heat in the car. It was freezing in the car because the heat had gone, because of whatever was going on with the car. And that is literally one of those moments in my life when you'd have to put your hands, you put yourself into somebody else's hands. You literally have to trust them implicitly, to put yourself in their hands and to guide you. Now, here's the surprising thing. It was really bad weather. The roads were awful, and yet the way that Grey Eagle took me, most of the roads had been cleared by this point. The snow plows had been out, and so I didn't really have an issue with snow on the roads, because somebody had been there before me, maybe just before me, clearing the path, clearing the way for me. Eventually, it took me a long time. It was a long journey back, I have to tell you. But eventually, I got home. And here is the next wonderfully weird part of the story. The little man had, at that point, disappeared. And I got to the top of my driveway, just turning the wheel to go into the driveway. And my driveway was on a sort of a slight slope down, which is just as well, because I got to the top of the driveway and the car cut out. And fortunately, because I turned the wheel, the car slid down into the driveway, and I arrived home safe. I couldn't get the car to start again. I had to get the mechanics out the next day. But it was, I think it was a Friday night, because I also had a meeting that night with my group, and with the spirit world. And I went into the house. I turned on a full bath, hot, 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 wonderfully hot bubble bath. And I remember soaking in it until I was forced 20 minutes later to get out so that I could get dry, get dressed, and open the door to greet all of my friends who had come for another meeting. Support, absolute, of course, from Grey Eagle, who always supports me. And I try very hard not to, sometimes we don't mean to take advantage, or sometimes we just don't value as much as we should what we have. Sometimes we take advantage, we don't mean to, but sometimes we do. But I try very, very hard with Grey Eagle to be very respectful, but I totally trust that he's there with me. And he was there with me that night, literally talking me inch by inch down the road, mile by mile, until finally, after about 2.5 hours of that freezing cold journey, I managed to get home just before my meeting started at 7:30. So I managed to get home and have a lovely, lovely, deep, warm bath before the meeting started. If you have friends that you absolutely know that you can rely on, it's amazing. I remember a few years ago, she was a sort of a friend, more of a colleague of a friend of mine. Very nice, very friendly, and she invited me out to lunch one day, and we were sitting there. We'd ordered the food, and then she said to me, she leaned forward and she said, "Rosemary, I just want you to know," she said, "it's important that I say this to you. I just want you to know, if you ever need anyone, if you ever need any help of any kind whatsoever, don't rely on me." I was so shocked because I was expecting her to say, "Just call me and I'll help you." I was in a new area, I was in a new country, and don't rely on me. Don't call me. I don't want to know. If you've got any problems, keep them to yourself. It was like, it was almost as if somebody had thrown cold water in my face, because it was the last thing that I expected. Anyway, mostly if you've got good friends and they are supportive of you, that's great. But I'm hoping that this story, as weirdly wonderful as I think it is, um, you can rely on the spirit world. You can rely on your friends in the spirit world. You can rely on your family in the spirit world, because they are there to guide you and they are there to steer you, and they support you above and beyond anything you could possibly believe that they would be able to support you with. So don't, before you sort of, next time you go to Siri to ask them a question, or the other one, I'm not going to say because it's in the bedroom here, before you go there, because isn't it easy? We just do it, don't we? Hey, what's the weather? Hey, what you got a puzzle. Hey, what does this word mean? Hey, before you do any of that, stop and think, is there another way that I could find out this information by using my brain, by using my sensitivity, by raising my level of consciousness? Is there another way that I can access, collect information, tune into my knowledge, the knowledge that my soul has, and the knowledge of those in the spirit world who are around me? Before I finish this story, because I'm hoping, remember, you're either going to comment or ask questions or whatever it is, because once you stop, we stop. Just giving you a heads up now. So start typing if you've got questions or comments. But I know that one of the questions that some of you will ask, one of the questions is, I had to get my tenses right then. One of the questions is, have you ever seen this little man again? And the answer is yes, I have. Once on a plane, quite a few years later. There must have been an issue with the plane, because I look out of the window and I'm just behind the wing. I look out of the window, and to my shock and delight, I see this little man who again turns, looks over his shoulder at me and smiles. And I immediately know that whatever whatever issues the plane has, whatever is going on there, we're going to be safe. We're going to arrive at our destination. We're going to be safe. So, okay. So that is my story for this Saturday. So, as all good stories always must finish, the end. All right, Chris.
So Judith's first comment is, I love this story. It does show how we can rely on spirit to care for us.
Yes.
It was interesting to me, re-listening to this story, Rosemary, when you said that Gray Eagle told you to slow down and then to slow down again.
Yes.
Obviously, from your point of view, we're looking at keeping you safe and ensuring that you're not going to be in the mix up of this car and truck scenario.
Right.
But
Right.
what hit me today was, imagine I was the driver of that car that's deciding it's going to zip in and pass down this slow driver ahead of me. That meant that person was also protected, because by you being the slow driver, they had to make a certain action, which also protected them. So I
Right.
think a lot of times when we're on the highway and somebody's slow or erratic or what have you, I think we do need to think, you know what? Maybe this is happening for a real reason.
Yeah, and I think that, I think again, we're so used to the technic. We live in a technological age, and we have or seem to have lost the ability to, let's say, to tune in or to listen. When um, for some reason you're walking down the street and you just decide on a whim, oh, let's go down this side street here, and you go down the side street and you meet a friend that you've not seen for years, or you go down another place and something happens, which is good and which is meant to happen. I mean, we forget uh, that we have intuition, and because we are so busy on our phones. I mean, how many people do you see walking on the street? It drives me crazy. How many people do you see walking on the street with their earplugs in and they're listening to this and that? What they're not listening to is themselves. They're not listening to their inner voice. They're not listening to those people in the spirit world who are saying to them, don't cross the street. Don't do that. They're not listening to people who are trying to be a part of their lives. So the next time any of you put your plugs in and play your music and think, well, you're having a great time, try plugging in a different way, would you? I mean, I'm thinking we've said this before. We are, going on August the 27th. I shall be in Connecticut. Yes, for those of you who don't know, but I think most of you know now. I'm going to Connecticut, and I'm going to help people to understand how important it is to tune in and to tune into your higher self, or develop a sense of higher self. And the one thing I'm going to be making sure when I go there is we're going to be talking about take the earplugs out. There's a different way of tuning in, and there's a different kind of music we should be listening to. We should be listening to the voice of our loved ones. We should be listening to the voice of that, whatever that force is out there, whatever that higher power is out there. That's what we should be tuning into. And I think we've seen people that have, I know that Teilhard de Chardin is very famous for his saying we're spiritual beings having a human experience. But come on, I like to add to that by saying, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but in a spiritual way. But when you plug in your earphones, or you sort of tune out the rest of the world, I get why you're tuning out the rest of the. I do get that, but you're also tuning out everything about the world, that other world, that universe that is out there. And you need to be really, really careful about what it is you are tuning out and what it is that you are missing by tuning out every noise, every sense. You're shutting down when you sort of are involved in. Um, with headphones or with the computer world, or when you're sort of involved and you're sitting on your computer, like, focused on that and nothing else but that, what you're effectively doing is you're closing down, or you're shutting down your senses, your five senses. And if those, you sort of just got focused on this, you're not focusing on the bigger picture, on the wider connection that as human beings, spiritual beings in this human form and having this human experience, you're closing down, you're shutting down all of that spiritual awareness that is so innate within us, but we've forgotten all about it because we're so used to, hey, hey Siri, what time is it? Look, yeah, see, it's binged.
It's 11:44 a.m.
And there you have it. You see, look outside. You can tell what the time is roughly. You can figure it out. There are so many ways that we can figure things out that we should be using to figure things out, instead of using the technology that blinds us, makes us deaf, makes us insensitive to what is going on. All right, Chris, keep it coming.
Cheryl says your story reminds her of a time when she was driving a cargo van on a 4-lane highway and
Oh,
suddenly hit black ice. She
hi.
lost control, but watched as they crossed 3 lanes of traffic and stopped on the grassy median safely. It was as if a giant hand pulled us across the traffic.
I have a story like that too. Very scary, isn't it, my darling, when that happens to us? Yes.
Carolyn says, is it better to hear the spirit world by using our tuition and not our thinking mind?
Well, it sort of goes together. You should be come to the workshop on the 27th in Connecticut. You'll find out. But it all really goes together because, we have to assess. So that's your thinking mind, isn't it? We have to assess to a point. Uh, but when you're thinking too much, or you are, so you're thinking too hard, then yes, then you do block out other stuff. There's a fine line, and it's all about attunement and tuning in. And we'll talk more about it in Connecticut. I hope you're going to come.
Okay, now Annalise saying, I remember this story from your book. I
Yes.
ask always for help from the spirit world, also from my loved ones when they are going to travel or so.
Well, good. And yes, I mean, I think I've rarely told this story sort of publicly, but I have written about it, and I have written about this story. So if you've read my books, you'll know just how clear and precise my memory still is after all these years of having that little man come into my life from time to time. And I think it's just, it's incredible that I've never ever discovered his name. It wasn't important anyway, because as one of our other helpers, the little old lady with no teeth, as she calls herself, will remind us, what is in a name anyway. She, I remember, well, I suppose that's a story for another time. I'll tell that story another time. Yes, the I am story. Go on, Chris, keep going.
Judith says, Rosemary, you can retell that story anytime. I will
Good.
never I will never tire of it. That little man showed himself in a body that fit the occasion.
Yeah.
Maybe he should have been a tiny Santa.
Oh, well, maybe, but he wasn't. So what can I say?
Rhonda says, I rely on my family in the spirit world and God every day to guide me and protect me. I know with peace on my heart that if I pass to the spirit world that it is my time. I am amazed every day the fear that is in the world right now because of COVID. Where is the trust in the spirit world, the peace that trust gives a person?
I am totally with you. I am absolutely with you. I mean, None of us wants to get COVID. None of us wants to get pneumonia. None of us wants to get cancer. None of us wants to get any of this stuff. But I think that if we have faith and we truly, hopefully, live our faith on a daily basis, we understand that we cannot go before our time. So, no matter what we are dealing with and no matter what we're suffering, of course, we don't want to suffer, but people get so panicked about things and so afraid of things. And, fear freezes us. It really does. Fear freezes our actions. I mean, I have lovely neighbours who have not been out for 2 years, except to go pick up the mail and the occasional grocery store shop, um, because they are so afraid, absolutely afraid of something happening to them. And fear freezes us. And we're only here for a short time on this earth. So, you know, how often can you stay in and be miserable and do nothing until you realize, wait a minute, life is for living. It's one of the best sayings. I don't know who said it, but life is for living, and that's what we should be doing with it. Taking every precaution that we can, but living our lives to the
R-
fullest.
Rosemary, someone's coming to your door and I'm going to manage that. So please keep talking.
Okay. All right. So you see, this is a live show. And this is what happens in a live show. Things, people come knocking on the door this morning. Okay, so we've upgraded our internet. We've done everything we can possible to sort of not have any of the issues that we've been having. And so I spoke to this lovely lady who said, "Yeah, there'll be somebody here on Sunday." Great, fantastic. Uh, Chris came knocking on my bedroom door. It was sort of like 7:45 or something. Uh, the internet guy's here, and I was totally disoriented. Wait a minute, I thought it was. Is it Sunday? Did I miss Saturday? And yes, somehow or another. And then I said when the guy was here, I said, you weren't supposed to be here until tomorrow. And he said, I just noticed that. I spoke to someone in the office and they said, oh no, we scheduled her for tomorrow. No, you didn't. Well, you did, yes. But here we are. So it's like things happen. It's a live show. Let's see if Chris is. I just saw a man walking down towards my pool area out there. I don't know if Chris is with him or what. Chris, are you there or not? Is there anybody there?
I am here. Are you saying you have someone at both doors? um, Linda is saying, my Aunt Diane passed Wednesday from a long battle with myeloma. I know she's in a good place, but my
Yes.
uncle is having a really hard time. They were married
Oh,
for 58 years. Perhaps a prayer to help him heal? Many blessings.
we shall absolutely send. We'll put him on our healing list. Do we have his name? We don't really need his name. We just, we can follow through with this. And we'll absolutely send him healing. I think it's, I do feel for people who they've been married to the love of their life. They've been married for goodness knows how many years, and then one of them dies and the other one does not know what to do. I know, Chris, you have a relative with that same situation, don't you? And it's tough. It's very, very tough. And of course, Chris, also, you were in the same situation too. It's very hard for people when they lose a loved one, and especially when they've been together for so long, also, and they've had such a wonderful relationship. But I'm absolutely certain that she will be with him. I'm absolutely certain she didn't leave him, really. She'll be around him, watching him and watching over him. And we'll absolutely send prayers, my darling. Chris.
Mark said early on in the show when you were explaining that you weren't quite sure that people would believe your story. He said, why would any of your fans doubt your stories? This is just another amazing life event you experienced. You are acclaimed by so many who have had you on their talk shows, and the millions of you are being touched by witnessing these events. You have shared with me insights, acknowledged that I have a personal angel and spirit guide. Why would I dare deny your gifts? Know you are truly loved.
Thank you, my darling. I do appreciate that. However, I do believe, and you, maybe I am my own worst enemy, but I think that questioning is a good thing. And I think that if I didn't doubt myself from time to time, I'd become so arrogant and so, you know, look at me and here I am and hear what I do. I mean, I think it's healthy to doubt what we're seeing. I think it's very when something is right in front of your eyes and it's so incredible, my reaction probably most of the time is, well, first of all, wow, and then wait a minute, is this real? And I have to have that questioning, and I need to ask those questions because that's the only way I can work out whether something is real or not real. I'm not a person who just believes something just because it's in front of my face. I have to analyze it and figure it out for myself, and I expect that we all should do that. And so, yes, I am the great Rosemary. Yes, I know all about that, but not really. I think we still should question. And, you know, I mean, I don't question Grey Eagle uh, when he's helping me, when he's guiding me. But there are times when he'll say something to me, and I'll say, oh, "Well, are you sure about that?" And I'll question because that's it's called a relationship, I suppose. That's what we do, and that's how we clarify things, and that's how we work through things. So I love and appreciate what you said to me, but not one of us is infallible, just saying. Chris.
Vicky says, I remember praying and asking those above to make sure I had a parking spot at the hospital when I
Yes,
needed to be there quickly, and they obliged.
yes. Don't you love that? Don't you really love it? I do it all the time if I'm going to a restaurant or if I mean, I use that all the time. If I want a parking spot in front, the close to a store or something, I don't feel like walking. Can I have a parking spot? Or if I drive into a parking lot and I see it's absolutely crammed full, or an airport parking space, I'm asking. So, and yes, 99.9% of the time, if not 100% of the time, I find what I'm looking for. But
Lorraine says,
I think I always have to say, sorry, Chris, but always try to say thank you. So just remember to say thank you. Chris.
all right. Lorraine says, I know I've been protected many times, arrived home safe. I remember driving and I forgot to put my lights on. And of course, it was dark out and I was in traffic and I was able to avoid a few car crashes by just seconds until I realized they were not on. Also, I almost drowned twice, once in a lake and once in the ocean with my young nephew. We got caught in an undertow. My life flashed before me. Thank goodness I wore goggles and had my contacts on. I was able to get my nephew to get the attention of the lifeguard. Two of them brought us back to shore safely, knowing my daughter's husband was on the beach, oblivious as to what was happening, and knowing I was watching my nephew, responsible for him. So thank you. We got through this.
It almost as if somebody's trying to get at you, doesn't it? But then, really, what's happening is you're having all these wonderful experiences and coming through them, and as scary as they might be, you know, experience teaches us things, doesn't it? And experiencing different traumas and different difficulties teaches us, if nothing else, it teaches us how strong we are and how much we can survive when we have to. Okay, so I don't know if you heard a little bit of tapping and banging, but my neighbour has come to do something or another with the window again. Luckily, I did say to him, after 12 o'clock, you can come and bang all you like. But anyway, I think we must be up for time, Chris, right?
Yeah, we're getting right up there, Rosemary.
Okay, so I think, is there anything else that we need to say, Chris? Is there anything else that we need to talk about here? Any other questions that
Well,
anybody has?
Cheryl has a quick question saying
Okay.
sometimes other people around us are no, sometimes are other people around us made to be helpers. Because
Yes.
at a gas station once, a guy approached us and said he was told by God to fill our van with gas. Well, that never happened, so we let him.
Nice. And yes. And I think that, I've always said, our angels can be that little snot-nosed kid in the street. Our angel can be the guy sitting on the bus next to us who stinks to high heaven. Our angel can be the old woman yelling at the kids. Angels come to us in many forms and in many guises. Uh, our angel could be that person, that homeless person sitting on the street, who isn't really a homeless person at all, but an angel. Angels come to us in many forms. So, think about that. And we're grateful for them also. Okay, Chris, I think that's a good note to end on. And I think my neighbour's going to start banging a little bit more in a minute. So uh, I just would like to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you want to know more about us, please go to my website, rosemaryaltea.com. You will find all the information that you need about booking for the August event, the 27th. I'm so excited. I'm going to be getting hugs and kisses from everybody. I'm going to be giving hugs and kisses to everybody, but I'm also going to be showing you or talking to you about how you can raise your level of consciousness, how you can become more aware of your loved ones in the spirit world, how to listen to your loved ones in the spirit world. And yes, of course, I'm going to be giving messages from the spirit world as well. Keeping fingers crossed, but I'm pretty sure that we'll be giving messages from the spirit world as well. So, so please join us. That's the 27th of August. Yes, so that's just over a month's time, I think. So you've still got time to book your ticket. So get on with it. If you want to do it, get on with it. Chris has put the link up, but also if you want to know more about it, go to my what is it? Go to my
Website.
website.
You have so many things all in your social media. That would be hard to remember.
I know. Go to my website. You'll find out all about it. And also, if you need anything, email us, Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com. We were thinking of doing an off the cuff last night, but well, we didn't do it. But we're hopefully going to do it sometime this weekend. You just never know. We might do something tomorrow. So until I see you again, watch carefully. Remember, I should be back on Thursday morning with the Spirit World Sees All, and I shall be popping in between, hopefully. So keep checking, and if you subscribe, that's what you need to do. If you want to know when we're on or any more about us, subscribe. That's what you need to do. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much, Chris, for everything that you've done. Yay, the internet is working. We think we cracked it? We're not quite sure, but we think we might have. Anyway, until I see you again, I'd like to say thank you so much to Gregor for all of his input and for all of the years he's been with me and for everything. Well, what can I say? Thanks is not nearly enough. But don't forget, your loved ones in the spirit world are supportive of you. Try, if you can, to be supportive of them too. Talk to them, listen to them, be aware that they're there. Until I see you all again, please, everybody, have a very blessed rest of the day and have a very blessed weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.